is to be done. So endovascular option need further study, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Assis, is Dr. Osman available or not yet? Not. Then I will go to the next subject. It's a debate about thoracoabdominal aortic dissection by two prominent surgeons, and we'll start by Dr. Samer Koussayer from Saudi Arabia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Will be a debate today about stage or non-stage repair of thoracoabdominal aortic dissection aneurysm. It's very hard to debate Yazan, but I'll try my best. You know, he's my friend, so hopefully we'll stay like that. طلعش الساعة بيحذف على الستريمينج هناك ويحذف على شغلان فيش سلايدات. Anyway, I mean, I'll try my best, guys, to convince you that the stage management of thoracoabdominal aortic dissection or aneurysm is really safer than one stage. This is a very nice national study. They look at 11,000 patients who had endovascular repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm, and they found that CSI was about 3.7%, and patients with a CSI had lower one-year survival than those without CAI, spinal cord ischemia. If you look at the factors associated with the spinal cord ischemia and the TVAR, the two most important factors is the length of the operations and extent of the thoracic aortic coverage. Scali, he found that the coverage thoracic aorta more than 20 centimeter considered independent predictor of CSI, and also he found that 1 out of 8 patients, if we cover the artery of atomic weeks, then this increases the CSI. So extent of the coverage and length of the operation both are major risk factor for CSI after endovascular repair, and both can consider a risk factor for one-stage procedure. So the most important risk factor again for CSI is the extent of the aortic coverage. Pfizer also, he found that there is 30% increase in CSI for every 20 millimeter coverage of the thoracic aorta. The duration of the procedure, a higher duration of the procedure has been reported as independent risk factor for CSI. And they found that intervention time above 300 minutes considered high risk for CSI. Also the fluoroscopy time and volume, so any fluoroscopy time above 190 minutes or higher contrast volume has been associated with the CSI, probably owing to the complexity of the repair. So if you put them all together, extent of the coverage, which is the most important risk factor, plus the increased fluoroscopy time, plus the higher contrast volume, plus the increased duration of the procedure, all this lead to the spinal cord ischemia, and this all goes against the one-stage procedure. This is a very nice paper published recently about predictor and outcome of spinal cord injury following complex branched fenestrated endovascular repair. And they found that the rate of the spinal cord ischemia 7.1% when you treat Crawford extent 1 and 3 aneurysm. And look at the median survival, it can drop from 60 months to 24.1 months if you have CSI. So what they conclude is confirms that increased length of the aortic coverage is associated with the CSI, and those with the Crawford extended 1 to 3 thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm repair are at higher risk. Another paper, they look at the spinal cord protection practice using during endovascular repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm, and looks at the blue line when you don't have any spinal cord ischemia, whereas the red one if you have a CSI, and they found the worst survival for patients who develop permanent paralysis than those without CSI, and better outcome for those who had some functional recovery and severity of the ischemia impact survival. Another paper, they look at the incidence and predictor and outcome of spinal cord ischemia and elective complex endovascular repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm, and look at that again. The green line is if you don't have CSI, and this is the red one if you have CSI regarding a survival. And again, they found CSI after FEVAR or BVAR strongly associated with a higher major complication rate and worse short-term and long-term survival. Another paper published recently look at the stage endovascular repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm, limited the incidence and severity of spinal cord ischemia. They have about 87 patient type 2, 37% they had end-stage, and 11% they had a stage CSI, and they found, looks at very obvious that if you have a stage procedure, you have a better survival than if you have a single stage procedure. So again, there is a trend toward improved 30-day survival in the two-stage group. Another paper also published this year also compares single and multiple stage procedure during FEVAR and BVAR. And again, it's about around 2,000 patients. They found a single stage, and they did single stage in 48% and multiple stage in 52%. And again, they found staging elective BVAR and FEVAR associated with a decreased risk of mortality and or permanent paraplegia at 30 days, and with higher patient survival at 1 and 3 years. Some people can argue that if you wait between first and second stage, this may increase the risk of rupture and death. They found that the risk of death is only 1.6%. Another paper, systemic review and meta-analysis, again of spinal cord ischemia during thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm repair. And this is about 27 study. They have about 20 study, they had a stage procedure, and 8 they have non-stage procedure. And again, they found a lower poor CSI rate was identified after stage than after non-stage thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm repair. So what they conclude, again, a stage approach can reduce CSI independently of the time and method adopted. The overall mortality rate for stage thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm was 7.7%, with only 1.6% death during the interval between the two stages. Another paper, again, they look at between stage and non-stage, and again look at the risk of CSI was much higher when you do one stage procedure. And again, they conclude that stage approach to extensive thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm may reduce the incidence of spinal cord injury. This is one they compare, one stage versus 2 stages, and again, look at that. This is for hybrid repair, and both favored for 30 days spinal cord ischemia, and all this favored a stage procedure. What about open repair? This was again compare 1 stage versus 2 stage for open repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm, and again look as a different that if you do 1 stage is less survival than if you do 2 stage repair for even open repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm. And they conclude that, again, confirms that stage open repair of type 2 thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm rated to the favorable result in terms of decreased mortality rate versus 1 stage for type 2 thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysm repair. The last thing is that this is a paper, they look at the risk of the spinal drainage, because when you do 1 stage, most probably you're going to use a spinal drainage because you can cover a long segment of the thoracoabdominal aortic thoracic aorta. Where if you do 2 stage, sometimes you don't, or most of the time you don't have to use a spinal drainage. So this one, they look at the safety of the spinal drainage, and they found spinal drainage has a risk about 10% of complication and 31% spinal cord injury related to CSF drainage. CSF drainage itself can cause CSI and has its own complications. So in conclusion, there is a clear evidence that extensive coverage is major risk factor for spinal cord ischemia. There are multiple evidence that showed that the two-stage procedure is safer than one-stage procedure in terms of both spinal cord ischemia and major adverse event. It's more likely that lumbar drainage would be used in the single-stage procedure than two-stage procedure, which also lead to the spinal cord ischemia related to the lumbar drainage placement. And finally, we really strongly believe that two-stage procedure has clearly decreased the risk of major adverse event and improved survival. Thank you very much. I'm waiting to see you in Riyadh.